Welcome everyone to our second workshop here. I have Carla, Rodrigo-Herrera, and Jeremy Travers, both from Peace NJ, people enjoying active conservation of the environment in New Jersey, nonprofit-based, working primarily in the Hackettstown region, trying to develop an environmental ethic. And past couple of years, they've been around explicit focus on connecting with the Latinx community in Hackettstown in terms of residents, business owners, also people who may come from neighboring communities to recreate or shop in Hackettstown. So my name is Ryan Jurley. I work for the Musconetcong Watershed Association. We've had the privilege of partnering with Peace NJ the last couple of years on a variety of projects that are, we hope, connecting everybody in the Hackettstown community a little bit better. And so making room for Spanish speakers in the outdoors is the focus of this presentation here. And so Carla will be leading that. She's helped with a lot of the survey work and engagement they've done. And Jeremy Travers is on the board of Peace NJ. And as some of you may know, who know Jeremy's such a champion for the Musconetcong and just overall wonderful person to be around. So having worked with both of these people, I'm just proud and have the pleasure to introduce them. So as I said, this is being recorded. I'll let Jeremy and Carla decide if they want to take questions throughout or if they want to have you wait till the end. But they'll be making their presentation, talking about the work, and you can see they already got their handouts to you. So Carla, please come up here and we're looking forward to your presentation.
So let's get started.
Just the down arrow on the keyboard.
So thanks for coming out. Like Brian said, we are Peace NJ. In our talk, making room for Spanish speakers in the outdoors, we're going to talk to you about how we began to explore and how to include Spanish-speaking community members in local outdoor recreation opportunities. My name is, as Ryan said, Jeremy Travers. I'm the VP on the board of directors for Peace NJ. One of my consultant and colleague, I'd like to say, Carla Rodrigo-Herrera. We're going to be presenting to you today, and we formed Peace NJ about 3 years ago in 2021 with the idea to focus on whole community engagement in the environmental stewardship in Northwest New Jersey. We work with other organizations, Musconetcong Watershed Association, some others, to engage in excluded groups in the outdoor recreation and environmental education. There's a number of other environmental groups that we work with regionally, but most of our work is done mostly here in Hackettstown. So, talking about Hackettstown a little bit, Musconetcong Wild and Scenic River starts here in Hackettstown. That's a big deal. It's a very honorable designation for our river here in town. It's an urban center, considered an urban center, has a population of about 10,000 people. And 20% of that population is our Hispanic community. And we're also the home of Marsh Wrigley and Centenary College. There's a lot of regional conservation investment going on with the Delaware River Watershed Initiative, preserve open space for recreation. There's lots of local hiking and boating and fishing opportunities in the area as well. And there's a lot of scenic and historical focus here in the area as well, which makes them all ideal places for people getting out and enjoying the area. We are a Musconetcong River Management Council partner. There is a growing interest in the area of ecotourism. We saw a lot of that during COVID. where we saw a real big increase in river usage in the area and in the local parks in town. A lot of people coming out and using them. There's a lot of places to eat. We got some breweries in town now, so that's drawing a lot of folks with interest into the area, and specifically in that case. Concerns, New Jersey environmental justice community, 8.5% below in the poverty line. 25% there's 25% Spanish speakers in the area, and there's limited relationships between those communities and the rest of the community in general. And we don't have an environmental commission here in Hackettstown, which I actually just found out we're going to be starting one. I think the first meeting is in November, which is good. And I think a lot of that has to do with our founding member Nancy Lawler. She spoke to the right people, and there's a lot of confusion on how to get this stuff going. So that's one of the things that Peace NJ helps out too, is facilitating other organizations and other town commissions and that type of thing, and kind of getting started. And there's limited local media. So some of the challenges are local conservation organizations deal with don't interact with the Spanish speaking community. That's one of the things that we try to do, is connect the Spanish speaking population with other organizations, and helping those other organizations do translations and that type of thing. And in general, there's not a basic understanding of communities' needs and their perspectives, and lack of programming and outreach to engage them as well. And that's one thing Carla and Nancy saw, was being able to engage community members in conservation, environmental stewardship, and build common understanding of ways to achieve that. So I don't know if there's anything you can jump in here too.
No.
Okay. So we planned inclusive, culturally relevant programs to help the community get to know us. We did 3 years ago. We did a program, Latino Conservation Week, where we got a bunch of local organizations come out. We were did some outreach with local Latino organizations, churches, that type of thing. Invited them to come out, and so it was a really good engagement project to bring both communities together. And we've been doing that ever since the last 3 years. Junior Ranger Angler programs, where we bring underprivileged kids come out within the community and learn about fishing, where we teach them, how to bait a hook, how to get a fish off the hook, who needs a license, those basic kind of things that just weren't getting to that community. Bilingual nature walks. We have a great park here in Hackettstown, where we were doing bird watching. We would host nature walks where we would go through, and it's right on the river. There's a lot of diverse marshlands and woodlands and other things like that. And just trying to engage that community in environmental activities. And then we need to understand the community needs, what their needs are, preferences for outdoor recreation. What do they like to do? And then what are those barriers to that participation? Do they not have transportation to get there? Do they even know it's there? And I find that not even just in the Hispanic community, but in the general population, a lot of people don't know a lot of this stuff exists. So just getting that message out there, and bringing those people together with organizations, super important. And we want to correct initial false assumptions with what their expectations are, what our expectations are, just trying to kind of bridge that gap. And again, it's all about building relationships. and identifying leaders in that community that will come, that we can work with. So our plan was to do a survey. So Carla, if you want to talk a little bit about that, I'll get out of the way.
So hello, my name is Carla Rodrigo, and this is my first presentation in English, so I am going to do. So first we surveyed the community, and we did a plan for this survey with these steps. Well, first step was form a team between Peace New Jersey, Mass Connect Watershed Association, and the River Network with the Anatole. So then we identified stakeholders and create a database of list contacts, and we met the stakeholders to get input for survey. And after that, we designed between Peace New Jersey, Mass Connect Watershed Association, and River Network the survey in English and in Spanish. We were implementing the survey and collecting the data. And finally, we analyzed the results and shared the results with the partners and community. Then the first step was identify stakeholders, and we identified that the stakeholders in the school, community services, residents, church, Peace New Jersey events, and local businesses. So the local schools from kindergarten to high school and the local university. And then we also reach out to local businesses owners in the city that are frequented by the Hispanic community. Then we met with the staff from various community and municipal services, such as Northgate, which provides community services for low-income people. We reached out to 8 local churches and met with the staff and pastors of that churches. We also identified volunteers at our events, like the Latino Conservation Week and the Free Fishing Day, and all the events of Peace New Jersey. And of course, we surveyed participants in our events too. So the reality was that not all the stakeholders responded equally, because and the volunteers conducted the surveys with their neighborhoods, friends, and gyms. Then in schools, the lack of responses was for the post-COVID, could be due to personal changes, and we got the most responses and collaboration was the churches. Why approach churches for this survey? So we were very interested in approaching churches because churches are made of large organized groups of people. In Pakistan, they get it at predictable time. They have already identified leaders within the church. They are very familiar with volunteerism and community building. They have many youth groups, and they are very easy for outsiders to find an approach. And they are very organized in these churches, and there are a lot of Latin churches in Pakistan. For our team and design the survey. Well, the survey have different sections. One of them was the demographics and general information of our participants and the engagement with the outdoors, youth activities, and personal and household health and information sources. And Of course, the barriers for what reason the Latin community don't involve in the outdoor activities, and what are the preferences. And you have in the table the one-page report. So in this one-page report is in Spanish and English, and it's a little summary of the responses of our survey. Well, disseminate the survey and data collection. Well, we had 172 people participate in our survey. One immediate challenge was that many people could not read or write in Spanish well enough to answer the survey questions, because the participants, some of them speak in some of native language of the countries. So there might be many reasons for this. First, there is a wide range of social status in this community, because we met professionals like lawyers, accountants, but also we met farm workers and people of rural areas in Latin America. Yeah, so the other reason may be that for some people, like I was saying, their first language may be one of the many indigenous languages of Latin America. So then we analyze the data and we review the findings. So yeah, again, you have the one-page report. So what did the data tell us? One, there was a common concern about the health of young family members. Parents report that kids spend more time on indoor activities, a common concern with many parents. Our respondents told us that they enjoy spending their free time with friends and family, and that they would like to fish and garden more. They are very also interested in environmental conservation and environmental activities, as well as leadership opportunities for young people. Barriers to their participation include, like Jeremy was saying, the lack of transportation, the lack of information about the activities in Spanish, and limited financial resources. It was interesting to have found they use WhatsApp more than most Americans and may rely on getting information from church. The reason they are so familiar, for example, with WhatsApp is because it works with personal contacts, and that is what the community is used. In addition to the fact that this application for the dissemination of information is the most common in Latin America. We share findings with the community and partners. They are the pastors of one of our church called IPUL, Iglesia Pentecostal, Pakistan. So we were sharing the data with the community. We found it's very important. So that was the final part of our project. We created an attractive one-page report that gave a summary of findings. This report has been shared with several nonprofits, as well as some of the churches that was surveyed. We also presented the data to the Masconeton River Management Council. And of course, we have lessons learned about that. And we learned not to assume that your participants can read or write well enough, even in Spanish. training people were needed to help them. In addition, the surveys needed to be shorter and use simple language, adding more multiple choice questions. In-person surveying was critical. We received very few responses to online forms. Acknowledging volunteers is important, is thanking respondents. We gave gift cards and certificates to volunteers, and we gave out fresh fruit to thank the respondents. We are still looking at different ways to show gratitude, especially in low-income communities. So it's important to know that it's good time for pastors to allow us to survey their congregations, and not all these they are very protected. So patience and respect are essential if you want to develop long-term relationships. So we have next step. Our community came up with solutions to the barriers they were experiencing. They definitely thought they needed better access to the information. One of the suggestions was a bilingual newsletter explaining the events, the roles of the organization, activities that may not be familiar to them, and promoting opportunities such as workshops in Spanish. Of course, they also suggest, and in Spanish and English, like bilinguals. Of course, they also suggested that free or low-cost public transportation and programs were needed. And finally, they wanted more opportunities to speak with English speakers, since that's what will help them improve communications skills in the language of their current country. So, which partners can help with communication? Now that we know something about our community, we can facilitate programs that answer real needs and also build a better network in the town. We were delighted when one partner developed a new bilingual community newspaper. She calls Elsa Todd, and she created a newspaper called Hakistan Habla Español también. So we partnered with a local museum curator to helping us making better, more visual content for our audience. She helped us with this one-page report and other materials too. So we also are concerned in connecting our existing partners with community organizations that do great work so they can work together to help address on all the needs the community needs. And in the last event, for example, we donate native plants to a local church. And we did two presentations totally in Spanish. One of them was like the quality of water, and the other one was the importance of native plants, because they don't know what is the importance of the native plants here in the United States. And in that presentation, the importance of Lyme disease, for example, because it's like health concern, and they don't know nothing about that. So it was very good share that presentation totally in Spanish for them. So we are working right now with the local public library for language exchange, un intercambio de idiomas between Spanish speakers and English speakers for a no ESL class. It's more like more organic talks between these two different cultures, and they can share the experience. And this language exchange is oriented for the environmental things, or maybe for talk about our events and the events of Mass Connect and Watershed Association too, or the environmental activities in Hackathon on the opportunities for the people, no? And so other opportunities are out there. So what is could happen here? We know that some section of town could use some streets, trees, and green infrastructure to mitigate the stormwater issue. We also know local creators, perhaps environmental nonprofits and videographers could create bilingual education videos that don't rely on text. Perhaps local health providers and recreation groups could offer hikes or boating trips to reduce the stress. And yeah, and that's it. We couldn't have done this project without the support of our volunteers and new partners like Cynthia Reyes Garcia, Nicolas Gomez, Rudy Javier of People Church, and the People families, Juan Carlos Chavarria, the pastor of the Baptist Church, Jamie Pasmino, from Iglesia Betel, Rachel Sabotinas of the Trinity Unit Methodist Church, and Jerry Galante is from Pakistan Free Public Library. So, Jerry.
So, those names up there, that's us, that's the foundation that we're laying as an organization to create that group of community organizers to help both the Latino community and everybody else in town kind of come together and start building, better understanding of environmental opportunities within the community. So we've actually handed out the, and this is us too, Peace NJ. Nancy Robert Lawler, she's our founder. She started this whole organization. She's a force to be reckoned with. She started out with MWA. She was with them for a long time and retired. We'll start a new organization. I'll start a new organization. Why not? And she saw the need here in Hackettstown, and I was a river monitor under her. She pulled me in. She knows I live here. Daniel Wolf she worked for the New Jersey Land Trust, working for another organization out on the West Coast. She's our treasurer. James Duffy started out with NWA when he was 14 years old. He just graduated from Princeton, I think, with a degree in policy. He just got a job up in New Hampshire, Vermont, doing work up there. And of course, Carla. But that group of people, really putting a lot of work and effort into kind of trying to build more environmental awareness in the community. So we've given you guys this statement from our survey, and we've given you a copy of the survey as well. I don't know if you want to have folks fill the survey out. I don't know.
The main of that survey is you have the answers of our real survey. So maybe you were thinking about another barriers. So they know they have another barriers. For example, Nancy was thinking the main barrier for them was the English. But like you see here in the what are the barriers to participate in outdoor activities, that is third concern of them. So they have another concern first. So like the cost of registration, or they don't have enough information about the options. So will be good to read maybe some of the answers of them
Of their
do the
concerns.
comparison.
Yeah, I saw my name pop up there. I'll just jump in if people have questions about the survey. I was also involved with some of the analysis. I did the easy work, going out into the community and getting the surveys done, but happy to jump in if especially if you guys need as well.
Well, this was fantastic.
Yeah, it's early on in the process. We're still, trying to identify community leaders and draw, folks from that community out. And I find this across the board, not just with the Latino community, but in general, people don't know where to go. They don't know, they want to be involved. They want to do things. They want to learn about things in their community and recreational activities and stuff, but they don't know where to go. So these are kind of the first steps that were taken on both sides, because there's a lot of misconceptions on what English-speaking community felt that were barriers for the Spanish-speaking community that weren't quite in alignment with what the community really needed.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg. We'll continue to flush these things out and just create that relationship between the communities and create one community working towards active environmental and recreation opportunities.
Any questions? One thing that I really took away from this, well, two things. First was we had some community partner who had like a mobile health unit, and she would go around and do health assessments for people. I think heart disease mainly, things like that. But she had requested we put health information on the survey, and I was like, this is more about like outdoor activities, and of course me just being ignorant, was kind of not against it, but I just thought it's already gonna be a long survey. But that's the value of listening to people in the community. One of the things that came out was that, the questions we put in there, do you think that being outdoors is important to physical health? Do you feel that being outdoors is important to mental health? And it was just such a dominant answer that they understood the connection between physical mental health and being outdoors. And that was just, for me, it's just a very, humbling moment, and seeing those connections between the environment and public health and all of those things kind of coming together into a holistic experience of what does it mean to live and thrive in a community. The other thing that I think I took away, just because it was such a clear, like practical, active step, is when we analyzed the data, there were a large percentage of people who wanted to get involved with different environmental preservation activities like water quality sampling and trash cleanups and other things like that. People who wanted to do those things but had never done them before. So this is, as Jeremy said, a lot of these problems and barriers are not just specific to Latinx community, but in general, I don't want to go to an event where I've never done something before if I don't have a clear image of how they're going to help me do that. And I think a shortcoming of some of what we've done in the past is, even though like I know I would, I do tree plantings, I would gladly help someone learn how to plant a tree, and I do it at my projects. But in terms of promoting and advertising and creating that message and that space that we not only welcome but encourage beginners to come, that's kind of where we've been maybe negligent, or just assuming that it'll get done and people will want to come out to these. So, and when you add the potential language or transportation or registration barrier, it does make it a little bit more challenging, but there are people who want to do this, and it's a win-win for the community, for all of our organizations. The more that we can visualize, okay, what do we need to do to make this an event that's welcoming for everyone? So those are just, like I said, some of the big takeaways of the survey. And for any of you who are thinking about that sort of partnership or trying to figure it out, it's if you build the survey right, if you listen to the people in the community, you'll get something that leaves you with next steps, which, nothing worse than a survey that you just sit on the information, because people put in their valuable time to give you their thoughts and their feelings. So.
And I mean, I think we could talk a little bit about our Tuesday meetup
For the language.
yeah, because that, I mean, the feedback I've been hearing from Nancy and you,
Yeah.
and other folks who've been there,
Yeah.
it's a pretty
Yeah.
positive experience for
Yeah.
both parties.
Yeah. So.
Go ahead.
Okay. For one of our suggestions of our respondents was the language exchange. So, like I was saying, we create this program with Spanish speakers and American speakers. Nate went for practice his Spanish, and another people who are learning of one each of other, and it's a good idea for improve the skills of the English and Spanish too, and involves to these people for feel comfortable and welcoming in our events, and they know now they can go to our events and they feel good with or maybe more confidence with of them English, and they can be in our events more comfortable, and because before they were thinking about maybe the events in the alumni park were only for American English speakers. But Peace, New Jersey have these events from 2 years ago. One of them is the Latin Conservation Week, and the name is Latin Conservation Week. But they maybe didn't see that. They are seeing the name Latin Conservation Week, but they are thinking it's only for American people or people who speak English.
So what's your experience been with
sure, yeah, I'll share. So I help and attend the language exchanges on Tuesdays. It's once or twice a month in the library, and it's great. We talk about a topic. Last time we talked about gardening, and I brought tomatoes and peppers and things that I had in my garden, and we just talked about it and also shared stories and experiences in English and in Spanish. And there's people that come from all different levels. So I lived in South America for half of last year, so I have a pretty good Spanish understanding, but there's also people that come with no Spanish understanding, and people who are trying to learn English. So it's kind of a good mix of people, and it's very informal, kind of like this. And I think it's welcoming for people.
And I know when Nancy approached, there's a new director of the library in Hackettstown. So Nancy approached him and just started talking to him. And that was one of the things they spoke about. He's like, oh yeah, that's a fantastic idea. And he was just waiting for somebody to come in and talk to him and let him know what was going on. had no idea, what the needs and everything were. So it was that connection that Nancy made with the director of the library. And, this is the first program that we started, at the library, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. Again, it's connecting the community so that, all the resources are being captured and met, and we're reaching everybody. That's what it's all about, is reaching everybody in the community. There was a lot of talk about that this morning in the talk before the program started. And it's so true, it comes to education, and we can learn from everybody. And there's a big pool of resources of people within our communities, and it's just bringing everybody together and figuring out what their needs are, and connecting those dots as well.
Yeah.
Just the beginning.
Anybody here live or work in an area with Spanish speaking population? Wow.
So I'm in Phillipsburg, so I was here in Warren County,
right.
and I grew up there, was away for a while, and then back now for almost 20 years.
Mhm.
And it's a much more diverse place than it was in the 80s
Oh,
when I
yeah.
was growing
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And I don't know that our town has done as much as it can to engage folks around a lot of issues. And the library exchange, the language exchange idea sounds fabulous. I'm getting a little involved with our library friends group, so it kind of
Yeah.
a big light bulb as maybe our library staff can't take on new programming, but maybe their friends or other community members who would.
Well, exactly. And
Get
there
the
might
ball
be
rolling.
people in the community who are willing to come in.
Right.
And because it's.
And we have and I noticed that Norwest Cap was one of your partners early on. May I ask what their role was when you were, or how, like, in what capacity they were?
So what?
Norwest Cap.
Norwest Cap, I mean, I know they're in our part of New Jersey,
Yeah.
but I don't know how large their geographic footprint is.
Did they help with outreach? Like, did they help advertise? or-
Yeah.
Yeah, just because they had families that they were already working with.
Okay,
So, certainly working
Yeah, I
with
think that
Norwest
was
Cap and
that was the
Phillipsburg.
connection.
yeah.
Because they're already helping.
In our town, I think Norwest Cap helps at our early education center, so you have a lot of young families
Right.
coming through the
Yeah.
school system.
Right.
And they
With help.
the low income
Mhm.
people,
Yeah,
no?
Yeah.
I would love to see a program like this established in Flemington, New Jersey, which has a sizable Latino population. And you probably, maybe you don't work that far south, but are you aware of another organization that does similar work? Or
I'm not. Nancy probably does.
I'll call Nancy.
Well, no, definitely.
Yeah, you know that. I know you know.
Yeah, no, Nancy first started this group, focus on the community, the Hispanic community in Hackettstown. And as we started going, we saw all these other groups, and said, Nancy, we're facilitators here. That's our core, is facilitate. Between all of those people up there, we have quite a large network of people,
Like different
and groups
Yeah.
and organizations that we've all worked with. And so we don't know something, we probably know somebody who can help you.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I'm always telling you, we're more than just Hackettstown. Definitely, we can definitely help out for sure.
And we know recently another organization who is doing the Latin Conservation Week in Camden, for example, is a Latin nonprofit of Dominican Republic. So they are doing the Latin Conservation Week in that place too. And we met two Defensores de la Cuenca from Pennsylvania, and another states like Diana Toledo from River Newport. She introduced us Green Latinos from, I think so, it's from California. So we were talking about another opportunities and another ideas for implement in Hackettstown or in another towns too.
Yeah, Deanna Toledo's from the River Network. They gave us like technical assistance money to do this survey. The MWA PSNJ partnership started with the Junior Ranger Angler program. Getting families out to the river, teach them about fishing, but also talk about conservation. And the River Network was who actually funded the development and analysis of the survey. And they would probably be a good place to start just because they are just that. They're a network. They may know organizations that work in Flemington, or maybe it's statewide, but there's a way to do something in Flemington. And yeah, the Defensores de la Cuenca, the watershed defenders or basin defenders, those may be the places to start just because they're doing the work. But at the end of the day, you need to, this, as Jeremy said, is 3 years of work just to get to this point. Building relationships can take a long time, especially, some of these families may be undocumented. And as Carla said, the pastors are very protective of their congregation because there may be those situations where they may not be able to access some of the services, or they may not understand, as a nonprofit comes in, what their intentions are. So the larger organizations probably can help with funding and can help with the overall big picture, but ultimately there needs to be some will among the community and somebody who's willing to just basically go door to door and start to get everybody in the same place.
We have done some work through 100 in healthcare as well, which may actually benefit. I don't know if you already connect with them, but they have open kind of channels of communication through the healthcare network that they can reach out to communities with some of this too, especially around environmental health, public health. Thank you.
No, thank you.
And well done. You're first.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other questions or final thoughts?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you foresee Peace NJ moving forward? What are the next steps?
We're still working on that. I think it's building on what we've already got. And then getting some of those Latino community members get on board with us. We don't have a lot of Spanish speaking members on our board. We'd like to expand that, get more Spanish speaking volunteers to come out. I think that's going to be a big focus this year coming up. And we'll still continue to do some of our programs. We do free fishing program. We've got one coming up in October. And then build on the language program at the library, and who knows what other programs we'll be able to start going. Now we've got the buy-in from the director of the library, and that's one thing we're working on too, is just building up relationships with community leaders, which has been very challenging. Because of our programs, I've been able to build a relationship with the town recreation director. And through that, I introduced them to Nancy. Nancy did her thing, and she got a meeting with the mayor. So, it's figuring out how to navigate the leadership in the community to get their ear and get them engaged. And it takes a lot of work and persistence. But yeah, I think, Peace and Jay, we're like I said, we're just at the tip of the iceberg. And, folks like, Carla and, other volunteers, and I think we can do a lot for the community.
Yeah. And we are looking new leaders, for example, in the language exchange, Spanish speakers. We like to involve more people to our activities, and maybe like MWA have river watchers, like a program. For example, we can maybe prepare these people for a Spanish version of the river watchers, for example, the Veedores del Río, for example. So it's like a more scientific knowledge for this kind of people or this Latin community for so they can feel more important and they can feel doing some important for the river and the community.
Yeah, that's what Carla struck on is really important. There's a lot of, MWA and Raritan Headwaters and RC&D, all these different groups. The work that we're doing, it's not an easy step, but it's just one more step to create the version that allows people whose first language is not English to get involved. Carla, in her humility, did not mention that she has an environmental background, and if this were in Spanish, you would learn just all the knowledge and her experiences, back in Bolivia. And that's the kind of connection that will help us to be able to offer the same programming to Latinx members of the community that we just kind of inherently offer to the people that always, that look like us and are always kind of coming to our events. So, we didn't tell Carla yet, but we're going to have her help us with the Spanish River Walking so that, the survey and a lot of the conversations have shown that, people in the community of Hackettstown, even among the Spanish speakers, are concerned about the health of the water. I mean, it's just so essential to life that you can't not think about it and be concerned once you realize that there are impacts that are happening in your community. So I think it's a wonderful suggestion.
Yeah.
One more round of applause, please.
Thank you.
A nice conversation. It's nice to hear that people in other communities in the area are starting to think about this.